Well, good morning, everyone. My name's Candice Spence and I'm the GM of Marketing at the AFA. Thanks so much for joining us for today's webinar. We're really excited. We've got two well-known faces of the AFR, two popular and well-known faces in Cara Mollica and Amy Baker. Welcome, ladies. Their topic is changing your client's money mindset. Now, it's a really important topic and one we'll focus on how you can enhance the financial planning process through evolving your client's mindset and behaviours with money. There'll be opportunity to ask questions at the end via the Q&A button on your screen. So please, they're welcome questions at the end of the session. Now, a little bit about Cara and Amy. Cara is a money mindset coach and former certified financial planner with over 10 years experience in financial services. She discovered that the psychology around money was a key contributing factor to financial success. As the founder and CEO of Savvy Wealth, Cara's money mindset program is carved from her passion in transforming women's relationship with money and supporting them in achieving financial freedom and independence. And Amy Baker. Amy is a financial advisor and certified money mindset coach also. Her career in financial services began in 2004 at St. George Bank, where she discovered a passion for helping people reach their financial goals. Amy runs her own practice called Recap Advice and operates a money coaching arm of her business, Sensibility. Cool name. Amy recently launched a podcast, speaks at events, and is launching an online course to improve your relationship with money. So look, a warm welcome to Cara and Amy, and over to you, ladies. Thank you.
Well, thanks so much for such a lovely introduction.
Yes, thank you.
We feel so privileged to be able to present today. As you know, I'm Amy and this is Cara. And we have a business, so we should actually add that we also have joined forces as in business as business partners, as money mindset coaches for financial advisors. So the actual business is MMC, Money Mindset Coaching.
Great. Yeah, we won't go through our bios again. We've already had an amazing introduction. Thank you, Candice, for that. Let's get into what we are going to talk about and what we're going to cover today. So today we're really talking about money mindset coaching and how this can help your clients in better understanding their relationship with money and having an increased chance of achieving their financial goals. And for you, the planner, it's a deeper client relationship and the ability to have deeper ongoing relationships with your clients. It enables you to add additional service offerings for both your existing clients and new markets. And also from a compliance perspective, having a better and a deeper understanding of your clients helps you demonstrate, obviously, that you know your client extensively.
So in today's webinar, we're going to cover the power of the subconscious mind and how it impacts your client's financial reality. It's quite a key and pivotal part of this process. We then discuss supporting your clients and getting crystal clear on their values and goals. Obviously, this is important with goals-based advice. So from a financial planning point of view, you can see that there's so much value just even this part of this webinar. We also focus in on how money stories and the beliefs and how they impact the clients and the tools that we can share with helping them overcome limiting beliefs. And obviously then we discuss some soft skills and key to unlocking our clients' truth. So many times our clients come to us with lots of different ideas, but there's other things underlining, and we'll explore all of that in this webinar.
So let's get into it and talk about the power of the subconscious mind. So there really is a misperception out there that our beliefs are hardwired and we're not able to change them. Studies have been done by Dr. Joe Dispenza and many others, and they show that we can actually change these neural pathways in our brains and form new beliefs. Now, that's great, but why is this important in regards to financial planning? Well, 95% of the time, we are operating from our subconscious. So 95% of our day, we're basically walking around asleep. So we have 70,000 thoughts per day, and the majority of those thoughts are the same as what we've had the day before, and the day before that, the month before that, the year before that. So if we have disempowering money beliefs, then these are going to be on repeat for us. We have a critical faculty, and this critical faculty filters what gets through into the subconscious mind. So it's a learning how to bypass this, which is the key to rewiring our minds for success.
So let's just go a little bit deeper here. How is our reality created? So we will see this where someone will come to us as they're really excited to get a financial plan, and they've been out and their friends have actually maybe semi-retired, or they're traveling and they've found that that was done with a strategy with the financial advisor. They've come with all these grand ideas and they're consciously wanting them. But what's really going on in that previous diagram is subconsciously there's going to be sabotage, there's going to be things that are holding them back. And although the plan can be delivered, you might find that they actually are not implementing on their end. You could implement so much, but they might not be contributing more to their super. Now, why is this happening? So we're getting information all through, like all the time. So, and then I think that amount, I'm just going to look over here. So it's 2.3 million bits per second of information. And what that reticular activating system is basically filters what's actually important to us. So really that's what is going on in our subconscious. So in internal subconscious filters, which is our beliefs, our values, our identity, our memories, past decision, languages, mood, location, time, all of those factors actually come about to filter in what really is actually important and what's going to create our current reality. So once we get that, we can basically see what we want to see. In some cases, we might see consciously what we want, but then subconsciously, we might find ourselves in a savings plan and then the car blows up. Or, you know, all of a sudden you find that shiny new object and you self-sabotage because you've got a belief system that potentially are not worthy, or there's other underlying issues. So it's really important just to actually look under the surface, like we just saw in that previous slide, and see what's really causing these what we call money blocks or sabotages or issues that are actually stopping our clients from really achieving their goals. And it all really comes down to what are they filtering and how they're filtering. But that RAS, that reticular activating system, is also a fantastic filter for us to start consciously being aware of what we want, so we can then start seeing all the opportunities for us. And then we being aware of the behaviors that we've created from very early ages, we can then rewire using a sort of the neuroplasticity piece of science to actually reframe a new belief and now what we really want in our lives. So just to tap into that, there's a bit of, you know, an understanding that we would go through in much more detail, by the way, in the course, and how we teach our advisors on this, because it's really important to understand what is really going on in the subconscious and the conscious. So the subconscious is developed from birth to about age 7. It's known as the primitive mind. And it actually, as we saw before, influences 95% of our reality. And it's often wired to move away from pain and towards pleasure. So it's like why sometimes you sort of do avoid, or people will procrastinate, because it might mean that it's an unknown for them. It might mean that they're afraid of what's to come, or they just are so used to being stuck in these patterns.
So the conscious mind, this comes fully online after the age of 7. So the first 7 years are known as our imprint years. And this is where we take everything, all information as absolute fact and just believe it as actual fact. So after the age of 7, the critical faculty is installed, and it is known as our higher mind. part of the neocortex or prefrontal lobe. So this is our ability to analyze, to rationalize, learn, engage in logical thinking, and exercise willpower. So, you know, when we're deep in analysis, creating a strategy, creating a financial plan, we're coming from our conscious mind. But if you, I'm sure so many people can resonate with this, is if you drive somewhere and you get to that destination and it's somewhere that you go quite often, like very frequently, and you actually arrive and you're like, I don't remember how I got here. I don't remember going through those traffic lights. I don't remember that stop sign. That's when we're on autopilot and our subconscious is in control. So there are obviously benefits to that, but this work allows us to bring to the forefront of our minds what beliefs, thoughts, patterns, and behaviors that we have around money and whether they're serving us or not.
So as we mentioned, it's really important that we also get really crystal clear on our goals and values. So our core values are what is most important to us. They drive our actions and behavior. Living out of alignment with our values create inner conflicts and disharmony, and therefore alignment between our goals and our values are important.
Now,
sorry, go on.
Our goals are, they provide us with purpose and something to work towards and look forward to. So goals equal progress, and making progress helps us be happy in life. Now, we also go through our core wounds. So our core wounds are our major source of mental and emotional stress. They're the source of our unhappiness and cause the challenges that we experience in our lives. So the more we resist looking at these, the more power they have over us, because again, they're so deep rooted and deep seated in our subconscious. So we will explore how our core wounds are influencing us and therefore our financial reality.
So one thing we go through in our training is what the SWOT board is, the personal values, and how that impacts us. So as you can see in this quadrant, there are 4 quadrants here, and within that it's how it can create a sort of a reality in that respect. Something I'm not sure, oh no, that's in the next slide, sorry. So sorry, go on.
Yeah, the reason that we go through the values is that it is so important for our goals and our clients' goals to be aligned with their values. Because if they're not, then subconsciously they're going to get in their own way, they're going to sabotage themselves, and they're not going to be able to achieve those financial goals because there is this inner conflict between them. So supporting our clients in, first of all, identifying what their values are, and then ensuring that the goals match their values is vitally important. So the SWOT's personal values model just outlines some of the values that people can have, and obviously there's a whole number of ones that sit under that as well. So let's go through the different values in the SWOT's model. So if we're starting on the right-hand side with self-transcendence, benevolence is really around preserving and enhancing the welfare of those that are in frequent personal contact with us. Universalism is around understanding, appreciating, tolerance and protection of all people and nature. Conformity is around restraining our actions or impulses that are likely to upset or harm others and violate social expectations and norms. Tradition is all about respect, commitment, and acceptance of our customs and ideas from our culture or religion. And security is around safety, harmony, and stability of society, relationships, and self. The self-enhancement parts of it is all around power and achievement. So achievement around personal, professional, career achievement. And power can be around power of oneself, and sometimes, power of other people. We also have hedonism, stimulation, and self-direction. So stimulation and self-direction is around being open to change and being self-motivated and moving forward on that self-direction aspect.
Thank you, Cara. I'm sorry I froze. I lost you for a moment then, so I appreciate that you went. Sorry about that.
Hopefully everyone didn't lose me, but
no, I could. Well, maybe it was me. I'm not sure. It's just this storm. I do apologize if I lost. But I heard you. My thing just froze for a minute, or maybe, but I could hear you the whole thing. Sorry about that, guys. Live technology. And it's sorry, we're frozen, that's all. So where do our values come from, and why is this so important? So our values are developed throughout our childhood. Although children are considered pre-moral, meaning they have no real values, they are also conditioned by their environment and taught right from wrong. Our basic nature is to survive, and as we develop, we are modeled to fit into society and be part of society or socialization. So it's really important to understand our values, because if we recall that visual image before of the iceberg, and where the subconscious, how important the subconscious is to actually creating our reality, this gives us insight to how we can actually really tap into what's going on with our subconscious and help with that rewiring, that neuroplasticity piece. Because if we're creating our goals based on some of these values that are developed at such a primitive age, then we're actually now tuning in to sort of using our whole mind there, and actually can help recreate and reframe, so we're actually heading in the right direction on what we consciously are after. So when it comes to that financial planning piece and there's that goals-based advice piece, understanding that deep relationship with our clients in terms of their values is imperative.
Absolutely. And if we remember that our beliefs are formed by our thoughts, so they're formed by repetition or a significant emotional event throughout our lives. So we can, through those same mechanisms, create new beliefs if we wish to. So now let's get into the core wounds. So there are three main core wounds that everybody has, or everything relates back to. And these actually show up around money with people. They actually influence their behaviours and their habits around money. So let's talk about the first one, which is the fear of abandonment. So someone leaving permanently or for a long time, especially when they shouldn't do so. So this is particularly important in that very early childhood time. The first 7 years, in particular, the first 2 years of life. And it can show up in a number of different ways working. Do you still have me, Amy?
Yeah, I just lost you. I was wondering if you wanted this slide as well.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I just had a notice my internet was unstable. So just wanted to double check on that. So yeah, it can show up in a number of different ways. The absence of a parent who's always working, a parent leaving, or relationship breakdowns. So how does this show up around money? It shows up around a people-pleasing tendency. So it can be undercharging, not charging, their worth and their value for the services that they're providing, or giving services away for free, not asking for pay rises, and really poor boundaries around working, around, working hours, but also taking on work over and above, what they should be doing, and doing this consistently over a long period of time. So now let's talk about the fear of rejection. So this is when you haven't received the love or kindness that you needed or expected. Now, researchers have found that rejection and pain cause the same area in our brains to light out. Our brain experiences it like we would physical trauma. So it does come from our hunter-gatherer days where everyone had a specific role, and if you couldn't meet that role, there was the chance that you could be thrown out, which could mean death. Now, how does this show up around money? So it shows up with numbing feelings by ignoring the feelings, ignoring what's actually going on, and turning to gambling or shopping or drugs, food, alcohol, even exercise, which lead to poor financial choices. It also shows up a lot around shame, guilt, anger, and self-judgment. And people feel like they should be further ahead than they are, which adds even more shame and more guilt. Now, this is something that we're actually really commonly seeing coming up with our clients who we're taking through this process, and it is subconscious. So even though on an intellectual level, we know that this isn't logical, we know that this isn't how it is, but it's so built into our subconscious that it comes up when we really dig deep, and it is influencing habits, it is influencing behaviours. So moving on to the fear of betrayal, this is where you feel someone has been deliberately disloyal to you, and we're left shocked and with a sense of feeling really paralysed and caught off guard. And it can lead to disappointment and distrust of others. Now, this shows up around money by feeling unworthy and not deserving of having money. And again, this is something that we see come up a lot in these subconscious processes that we go through, is this feeling of being unworthy and not deserving of having money, or having to work really, really hard to have money. You know, how many clients do you see that are just, you know, constantly working, and it's constantly just more pushing for more?
Another example is one where, you get clients that have inherited money but almost don't feel worthy of that, or afraid to actually do anything, or they're slow to actually take action or take on the advice piece because of that fear, or not fear, it's really a not feeling worthy of having it. But at the same time, they're in conflict because they've received it and they don't want to disappoint the loved one that has actually left it to them. So that's actually a live example of this exact case. And how do we find all this information out of our clients? This is the fun part. This is actually what we call our emotional fact find. So it's understanding our clients' money stories and beliefs. So as we said in the beginning, beliefs are what basically drive us, and what becomes our current reality. So that's driven from a very early age. And it's really important that we understand what this is with our client. So we get a fact find in normal state and we get all their financial information, but we don't understand how they feel about everything. We don't understand if they're actually avoiding looking in their bank statements, or if their parents fought over over money, if there was conflict, if there's, a point of scarcity, no matter how much they've got, they're always trying to squander away. This actual process will take us down that rabbit hole, so to speak, and actually develop a deeper relationship that you have with your client. And you actually do find this stuff out. So we will explore whether the client's parents fight about money, for example. Were there any low-lying stresses or resentment in the household? Or, it could be the opposite. Did your parents have to sell the house? Did you change schools a lot? What were your relationships like with your friends at school? Were you sort of in the in crowd? Were you the out crowd? It sounds like a lot to know, but once you actually start having this conversation, one, it helps you explore that values piece. It helps you understand that client in a deeper level, they feel heard and seen, but we can start seeing these patterns and we start seeing this language. I'm just going to show you another slide, which we'll start, what you do in this fact find process is you start highlighting language and behaviors and thoughts and patterns. They start showing up, and the more you do this, the more you start seeing it. So sometimes you start seeing behaviors, and they may describe somebody as, a family member as passive aggressive, or they may want to be creative, but they haven't been able to because they've got to work. They may, use certain descriptive words that just stand out, and it's a really good experience to go through that and sometimes even unpack what that means to them. The word, last night we were working with some advisors, the word, what was it, Cara? Pressure meant such a different thing to one person who had gone through their money story, and the word pressure was almost a different meaning. So it's also important, again, to have that conversation and go, when you say that word, what exactly do you mean by that? And the pressure being time being a pressure, or is the pressure actually the weight of my shoulders having to, be the main breadwinner? Those kind of things are really insightful in these conversations that we have with our clients to really understand what drives them with their money decisions and where they really want to change, where they want to go going forward.
Absolutely. And so the emotional fact find is designed to be used, in conjunction with your fact find that you work with currently. However, it goes into the emotions and the feelings around money. It really helps you understand your client's relationship with money. They understand their own relationship with money, and they're able to also written out, they can actually start to identify these things themselves. And awareness is the first step, bringing it to the consciousness, because if we're not aware of something, then we're not able to actually change it. So it is a really extensive tool. It's a really extensive questionnaire, and that is some of the feedback that we've gotten from everyone is, wow, I didn't realize how detailed and how in depth this actually is, because that's the level of detail that we need to get to fully really understand our clients, support them and help them in transforming their relationship with money from this emotional perspective.
And we've all seen how money can be so emotionally driven. Even some of the most, organized, driven clients that you think would never be shaken by something like, volatility in the markets. And then there'd be just some absurd behavior that could occur where they basically sabotage everything in a time that doesn't actually need to be done. So when we're actually understanding what the driving force is, what's the emotional what's the emotional motivator, I guess would be the probably best word to, and you actually can unpack that in that emotional fact find and sort of start saying, well, when things actually are rocky, this is going to be what you do, because we see that in your past, this is kind of now the pattern. And now we are aware of that pattern. We can actually reframe, rechange, and we can see it coming potentially as well. So it's also really helpful along the way through the financial planning process, not just also setting those goals and getting them, coaching them to achieve goals, but it's also when things like volatility occur, or when, say, they actually are really close to hitting that savings goal or being able to put that money into their investment strategy. And it's the pattern that potentially could happen where they completely sabotage that and go shopping. And it's like, okay, well, now we know that that's what you're going to do. So we're going to actually start putting things in place and working around how we're going to make sure that you're not going to sabotage it. We're going to keep this plan happening because they're so on board and so emotionally invested in the new framing of everything. So they've got the scaffolds up there to keep going forward. And obviously the next piece we go through, which is part of that emotional fact find, is really honing in and developing in a deeper sense our soft skills. And it's obviously one that we all as advisors go, yeah, that's what we do. But this is something we go further into because we're now at again, I keep repeating myself here, but that deeper level in relationship with our client.
Absolutely. And we were talking about this in our group the other night around how emotionally charged money actually is for so many people. We don't actually realize that it does come with this charge. And this process is designed to help uncover what that actually is for our clients. And we do this through a number of different ways. Through language, so listening out for repetitive words, for looking for patterns in language of what word comes up constantly or a number of times. So we talked about pressure being, something that has come up for some of our clients recently around money. And it can also, be fearful words, or it can be things like disciplined or in control. And these types of clients you have these clients who seem to have it all together, but if you dig deeper, often they're not allowing themselves to actually enjoy life, to actually enjoy what they've created. So it's both, ends of that spectrum, I guess, in regards to this fear of not having enough, when you can clearly see that they do, and not allowing themselves to enjoy it because they don't think they're worthy or deserving of having that.
Actually, that reminds me of a client. We had an advisor who we did a practice client with, and he discovered through this process, and although he'd had this client for many years, he discovered through this process that she worked and had this belief that you can only enjoy your finances, your money, when you're working hard. She actually had enough, but she'd been preventing herself from wanting to travel. And she could afford to travel. And she's actually been sitting on her hands, not traveling for a very long time, because she had this belief that the only way her money would exist was if she kept working. Even though he could demonstrate and forecast and show how her money is well invested and how long it's going to last, and she could take this out. But the point was, he didn't actually understand how important and how much of a value travel was. So he now could go back and reframe the financial planning piece, but also have a different conversation about her values and her inner values and her actual belief of how money only exists if you work so hard, and how he could then reframe that belief is that money could be enjoyed and invested. You can do both. And so this is where that kind of work can really make a big difference. Sorry, I've jumped a gun here in respect to talking about body language and eye contact. Obviously, incredibly powerful things there, especially if you're having that face-to-face, because sometimes words can't be said as much, and there's a lot of emotions just hidden through the eyes or the body. So it's really important just to be very aware of some of the unspoken language that we are, experiencing. And again, when we're doing these practical sessions with the advisors, we actually go through this and give examples, and we start even getting them to they go through the practice process so they can actually experience this themselves.
Absolutely. So you can see how the money mindset and the emotional fact find side of things really can fit hand in hand with the work that you're already doing with your client, and be such a value add in helping deepen those relationships, but helping them ultimately your clients achieve the outcomes that they're trying to achieve by adding this additional element to your conversations.
Absolutely. So another thing that we ensure that everyone has is a toolkit. Not every tool is going to be perfect for every client. So every money story is different and unique, as with the answers. The idea is, what we want to do is reframe new beliefs. By creating the new beliefs, we're creating a new subconscious and conscious awareness. So we're basically getting them back on track to with who and how they want to be with money. So some of these are amazing tools that actually are proven with science through the neuroplasticity piece. And so we go through quite an extensive list. In fact, our list is actually, we've only given you a portion of what we actually have. And it is actually something, because we're constantly coming across new things and we're constantly researching. So between us, we are constantly adding to this I think it's almost monthly at the moment. We've got a new thing that we've come, like, look at this, we've got this new amazing tool that can actually help transform people.
Yeah, and these are all tools that we personally used, our clients have used, and we've seen the benefits of. The other thing as well, which is important to point out, is that we don't always necessarily solve a mindset, I don't want to say problem, but I guess a mindset challenge with a mindset tool. Sometimes it is actually those practical elements that you as advisors are really well placed to be able to help them with. So it may be actually putting those cash flow measures in place. It may be helping them with a financial decision-making process so they don't make rash decisions and not stick to the plan that you've agreed to. And as Amy mentioned, not all tools are going to be relevant for all clients. So there is a really vast toolkit, so you're able to use the ones that are most relevant for your client. So they are designed around how to rewire your neural pathways in your brain to form more empowering money beliefs. And this is around, there's a limiting belief model on how to support your clients in changing those limiting beliefs that they have. How forgiveness comes into this, forgiveness about self and others around money, releasing fear, and there's a gratitude piece, and meditations, visualizations, tapping, a whole vast range of things. And as I've already mentioned, not everything is going to resonate with every client. It's around pulling out the ones that are most appropriate for the conversation that you've had and also where your client is at as well.
And one thing I also would like to add before we move on is that there are clients that might need extra help. So we do state, obviously, we're not psychologists, and it's not always even psychology that you might actually get them to go and see. So in fact, I have clients who understand and respect the practice of hypnotherapy, so they'll go and do that because some of this isn't as deep and shifting as that, but there might be clients that actually do have some trauma that you recognize and need that added support as well. So just be mindful there that although we've got our bag of tools and we've got this support, once that awareness piece is found, it's important to support the client with, more of a holistic approach. So do you want to?
Yeah, so this is the consciousness scale. So this is where our thoughts link to our beliefs, which link to our behaviours. So if we are able to recognise when we're in a space of shame or guilt around money, or even, envy or jealousy around the money, what can we do to shift this to a more positive outcome? Because by being more positive, you'll find your attitude shifting, and that helps with the rewiring of our neural pathways and bringing ourselves up at this consciousness scale. So you can see at the bottom of this scale that it's quite contracted energy, this shame or guilt or grief or fear. And let's remember about our subconscious. So this all can happen subconsciously, but when we're able to recognize it, we're able to interrupt the pattern and change our energy and move up this scale. It really assists in our ability to be able to think more positively and with more empowering money beliefs. And ultimately that leads to our habits, which leads to our behaviors and leads to actual financial change and following the plan and sticking to the plan once it's been put in place. So it helps with the neuroplasticity and rewiring.
It's a tool that I've used with clients just so they can visually see how important it is to actually have more of a positive insight on things, because one thing our subconscious doesn't know is time. So if we're basically, when we're doing this rewiring, sort of piece of reframing our beliefs, it's basically we can sit in a space of our new reality, our new thought patterns, our new way of thinking. So it's basically tricking our mind to state that, well, we're already there, we're already experiencing where we want to be, we're already in the future self. By doing that, we're lifting our vibrations, so to speak. It does sound woo-woo, but it is scientifically proven. But it's just really important just to have this visual there, just to be aware of how our moods and everything can affect such greater outcomes in our environment and our thoughts, and all the external outcomes that can come from there as well. So it is a great tool. We go into all of this to, seeing a snippet like this might not make too much sense without going into a good hour module on this information, but it is another great tool, a visual tool, to actually see how important it is that we're aware of how these behaviors can really drag us down or lift us up.
Absolutely. So one of the tools that we use is all around gratitude. So gratitude turns what we have into enough and more. It turns denial into acceptance, chaos into order, confusion into clarity. It's a vision for tomorrow. So beautiful Melody Beattie quote there. Now, our presentation today has just touched on the first 4 modules of the Money Mindset Coaching course. So obviously, we go into this in far more detail, and there's definitely a very practical element to it, where you go through the process yourself in a group setting, in a very safe environment. And through going through this yourself, you're then able to take practice clients through it and see the real transformation and benefit that they can get from it. So we go into way more detail around the science behind why people behave in certain ways around money and what's getting in their way. Why aren't they achieving what they truly want to achieve? How to get to the heart of their true goals and increase your conversion rate and really support your client in making sure their goals are aligned with their values, to then minimize this chance of them sabotaging themselves. Having the tools to support them and help them change their patterns and behaviors, and also how to incorporate this into your financial planning practice. So it's really twofold here. So you can utilize it with your existing clients to deepen your relationship, but it also opens up additional markets where you're able to serve clients where you potentially haven't otherwise had a service offering for them. And because you're the person supporting them with this, when they are in a position and they do want to get financial advice, then naturally you're going to be the person that they come to. So if you would like further information about this, there is a web link, which we will also send out to you. It has more details, or obviously feel free to reach out to Amy or myself. We're both more than happy to have a chat to you about all of this. So yeah, keen to know if there are any questions. If you had any insights, anything that came up during this presentation today, we'd love to hear from you. Just pop any questions in the chat.
Cara, I've got a question for you too, actually, but I'll start with the first one. What transformations have you seen for your clients? And Amy, feel free.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually, there's so many ways to answer this, because we've seen transformations with the advisors we've worked with so far, but I'm just as a money mindset coach myself, one of the, I guess my best one was within 6 months of a client actually using the term growth when expressing her feelings around money. had turned her debt around to be saving, paid back everybody, and this is 6 months, paid back everybody she owed money to. Her and a partner bought a property and she got engaged, and that was all in 6 months. Her attitude and relationship with her money just shifted so quickly that all of a sudden her resources were there, but she just didn't see it. So if you think about that, what our reticular activating system does is it filters what we want to see. And that was a perfect situation where she shifted sort of being very negative and seeing money as a negative thing to realizing that it was just actually a tool to serve her, and just really funneled her energy in a different way, focused in on what she wanted to achieve, and it just actually compounded from there on in. That was a perfect example of a great outcome from this work.
Incredible transformation.
Yeah.
Nice. Second question I had is, when is the work needed in a financial planning business?
Can I answer this one as well?
Absolutely.
I actually bring it into the financial planning business. As a coach, I recognize that there are clients that actually struggle with the implementation on their end. I'm sure we've all seen this, and actually this is why I got into this business, was because I'd get frustrated when I'd do a financial plan a year later. You know, I've implemented part of the work, but they haven't made their, super contributions or invested the funds that they were supposed to. One client in particular came to me for a financial plan because she'd inherited money from her father passing away. In this case, you would probably say, some clients may not even want to work with them because they'd be considered like the old word tie kicker, but she was actually just struggling with a belief of her deserving. I mentioned this before, her deserving that money. And it was a point where I actually came back and said to review, I said, you've actually lost investment opportunity. I said, at this point, I'm going to just sit down and have a candid conversation with you right now. You need some money coaching. And I explained what it was. I explained what I'm recognizing in this. And she just sort of went, oh, yes, okay. And it's just been that transformation again, just to go through that process to recognize what's been holding her back, why, and then putting some really simple strategies in place to get her money invested, which is in her best interest as well. So that was a great example. And I mean, I've got a few of them, but at this point with my business, I can see, especially at review time, when clients are actually really struggling because they haven't done their end of the bargain.
Thanks for that, Amy. Cara, is there anything you wanted to add? Or
yeah, so I think Amy's just covered on it a little bit, but around how to bring the topic up with clients that you think will benefit from this. So you'll start to see these patterns and behaviours, and you'll start to identify the clients where you think there's a real block, that there's something going on more than what meets the surface. And these are the clients to really have this conversation with around, well, have you considered and gone back and thought about your memories around money, your relationship with money, how you view it, how you view people with money, and how you view yourself around money. And it is quite an enlightening process. So look out for those kinds of clues and signs with clients, or prospects actually, around that.
Yeah, I tapped on a little bit in the presentation as well, when, for example, when things are really volatile, how they behave with things like that as well, how they react. And although you've done the questionnaire on their risk profile, that also doesn't always demonstrate how they're going to actually react when the markets actually are so volatile or go backwards. So these kind of times are actually insightful to how people, it's really looking out for behavior. It's really looking out for reaction. Those two things are so imperative. We see that in our businesses. As I said, came into this money mindset coaching for the very fact that I was so frustrated when I do a review and I could see the potential of that financial plan. It was like, what's wrong? Why won't we move forward?
Yeah, and the other thing I was seeing when I was planning was we'd have clients with similar situations. Obviously, no situation is exactly the same, but they were similar. And, you know, you would create a plan for both of them, and one would succeed in it and one wouldn't. And that's when I got really fascinated around, well, why is this? You know, the plan's there, they're going to get to their goals if they just stick to the plan. So, you know, the psychology around money, the behaviors around money, and that's kind of what led me down this path to do a lot of research and training around this, because I can see how vitally important it is. And we don't talk about this normally. So it's really powerful work with the right clients.
Mm.
Okay, that's really great. That's really interesting. And yeah, so we don't have further questions from the floor, but I just really wanted to thank you for today. And, you know, thank you everyone who attended today's webinar. Really like to thank Cara and Amy for their really insightful presentation. They've provided some great tips and tools on the subject. And if you're interested in knowing more about the mindset coaching, please visit their website. We will have a link and we will send a thank you email with the recording if you want to have a look back at some of the topics that were raised today. So that will be on the AFA website under webinars 2022. Thank you again. Thanks everyone. Cara and Amy, is there anything else that you want to perhaps?
Well, I have just seen a question pop up in the Q&A around what transformation have you seen for your clients? So what's the, what transformations have we seen with our clients?
We kind of answered that one with the one client that I mentioned before with the 6-month transformation. I think let's answer that on the financial planning training, because we're seeing transformations with clients actually who are doing this for their businesses. So I guess potentially could be where they've actually, so there's another client coming in, and so another question, actually that's probably better because we did answer the other one. It's what benefits a financial planning business. But basically that's where I was going, is that not only is the advisor themselves aware of themselves and their own money mindset and go through the process themselves, and actually could be, and in one case we've seen unaware that they've actually been limiting themselves and growing their business. That was one incredible, it hasn't actually started to transform yet, but the awareness piece is already a step in the right direction. And in the financial planning business, I have already started seeing so many more opportunities open for my clients because we're doing this powerful work. But Cara, you've also got some insight on this. Do you want to?
Yeah. So around the benefits to a financial planning business, it's I was going to say twofold, but it's probably more than twofold. So it gives you a value add for your existing clients. It allows you to deepen the relationship. And Amy mentioned an example of one of our advisors who found out that his client, who had been a client for a very long time, like he always knew that she valued travel, but he really was able to understand the depth of that and how important it was to her. So he was able to, I guess, reassure her, because he was also the planner and he knew her situation, that she was able to do that. The other benefit to your financial planning business is there are clients or people out there, consumers, who may not be ready to actually be a financial planning client. They may not be at that point, and this is the work that can really help them. And then when they do get to that point where they need advice, then naturally you're going to be the person that they come to. So it's enabling you to get to different demographics, different niches of clients as well, and have a different service offering for them. So it can be used obviously as a standalone or incorporated into giving them a financial plan as well at the same time.
Exactly. With that client that I shared, the transformation client in 6 months, going from debt, talking about money being yuck, to buying a house and getting engaged and paying, clearing all debt, she's come back now. Let's talk about planning. You know, she's gotten through that shift. So it does actually, you can have that business. And as you know, I actually have a sort of a financial planning arm and the money mindset arm, but I also introduce it in the financial planning practice. And then those clients over here can come over there and vice versa. So it can actually add and open up opportunities to a financial planning firm.
Yeah, and on the transformations for clients as well. So one thing I've seen with a lot of my clients actually is with the people-pleasing tendency, the undercharging of their clients when they're in service-based industries, but also being overly generous and being on autopilot with, you know, just paying for things for friends and family without even realizing it. And it was like an awareness piece around just being aware of it and then making a conscious decision whether they wanted to do that or not. So it's not saying that you can't do that. It's just being conscious of it and not just being automatic that that's what you do. And, you know, obviously these habits were impacting their ability to meet their other financial goals as well.
We have another question. From a compliance standpoint, how does the structure of financial planning and a money coaching service or business work? Does it need to be two separate businesses? It's actually a good question. Well, the money mindset work is no advice. So you can have it as a completely separate business. From that point of view, because I am licensed, I look at the money mindset work within my financial planning practice as just we work as part of the sort of review process. And then I go into a deeper, conversation around their money their money mindset, their money story. Just been throwing the things going off a little bit through me. Sorry about that. So I sort of go, well, from a compliance point of view, I'm, able to have that bigger, greater conversation. It's actually really getting to know the client. It's a deeper relationship. And actually in that conversation, I'm starting to understand their goals in a more of a deeper way, as we've demonstrated in this workshop. So it's, I sort of see it actually as very fitting to where ASIC wants to go with goals-based advice. But I do actually have a separate business only just for the simplicity of the way I operate as well, because I've got a course that I'm about to launch, which is sort of more money mindset coaching, and there's there's no advice sort of piece in there.
Yeah, and I think it would also obviously depend on your AFSL and the requirements specifically for them.
Yeah.
I don't think we have any other questions, so we can probably wrap it up there.
Yep. There's no other questions. So really, thank you. Thanks to the audience today, and thank you, Amy and Cara. It was very insightful. As I've mentioned earlier, we'll send a thank you email with all the links to the money coaching, and we will have the recording available. So thank you, everyone. Have a lovely day, and thanks again, Amy and Cara.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.